everybody. Welcome to the Talking Heartland podcast. This is a show where we look at episodes of a Heartland TV show, and we are on season 16, episodes 6 and 7. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle is here.
Hey everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
You got a new king over there. Is that exciting for you?
Yeah, let's tell Rachel, it doesn't really have like a massive effect in Scotland. But yeah, it's certainly like every newspaper, everything. And I work for an English company and we sell sort of a lot of household goods and things like that. So we've had, coronation stuff on sale for a long time. So it's sort of like when it's Easter or Christmas, you're sort of ready to not see that stuff anymore. It's just, yeah. And as we got closer and closer to the coronation, it started to take up more and more of the store. But yeah, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. But yeah, it's still the coronation stuff this weekend. I think we've got the concert tonight, which I think I'll watch that and see if anything. I'm not actually sure who's performing at it, so it'll be a nice surprise.
Yeah. Well, you might as well enjoy it in a way. I mean, what else have you got to do, right?
Yeah, I was saying to a friend, it's like we go through all this, and it won't be long, I imagine, before we have to go through it all over again with William. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're in the middle of season 16. Very exciting. We've got episode 6 and 7, and the for whatever reason on IMDb, the summary writer for episode 6 went like crazy, and it's like 4 paragraphs. I'm not reading all of that, but basically, this episode you have Jessica going to New York for her big art debut, and it not going as well as she would have liked. Then you have a Zorse being announced to Heartland Ranch. It's a horse.
Didn't come up with anything else.
Yeah. A horse zebra cross. Which, do you think that was real, or do you think that was
absolutely.
paint?
No. Now you've got me questioning it. I know that Zorses exist, but yeah, it'd be interesting if
maybe. Yeah, I'd never heard of it before this episode, so that was learning for me. And then you have Lisa and Jack still having problems with their relationship as far as her travel, and so that's kind of what's going on in this episode. We have also Tim hoping Shane will show up, that he's this busy lawyer now. Is he going to show up? But all that going on, what did you think overall of this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was a good one. I thought it was sort of good the way that they had sort of Tim and Jessica have this conflict, but it wasn't about them as a couple. It was just sort of conflict that they had to deal with.
Yeah.
Sort of separate from the relationship. So I thought that was really good, and it showed how well they are when they're sort of communicating well and how well they work as a couple, because I feel like sometimes shows sort of get caught up in just showing conflict after conflict to the point of where you sort of question, why are these people together? Sort of how we felt with Lou and Peter sort of back in the day.
Yes.
And thankfully it seems like they've sort of remedied that as well. But yeah, I thought it was good. I do wish that the sort of Shane part had been a little bit more, because I feel like it was really hyped up in the last episode. And yeah, I didn't expect it all to come down to just sort of a 2-minute sort of moment at the end. I expected it to sort of be throughout the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we maybe get to see. You think that's all we're gonna see in this season?
I hope not.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in a couple more episodes.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting if he came back to Heartland, because it seems he's sort of abandoned his sort of wanting to be a cowboy for the big city life.
I guess
he's turned to the evil city.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, evil business. No good. I was just gonna see if they have it on IMDb. Say it in his IMDb either. Anyway, well, hopefully we'll get to see him again
Mm. So I
because
felt
I
like
liked
you'd,
him.
yeah, when he was a kid, like I think it's really um hard to judge acting as a kid, but
Mhm,
he really sort of shown a lot of maturity and definitely seemed like he's gotten like more confident as an actor. I'm not sure if he's
mhm,
done much since in between his Heartland sort of appearances, but yeah, it would be nice and it would be a good sort of dynamic. And it also feels a little strange that, you know, Tim is sort of, feeling a lot of guilt over, not seeing Shane, but like Lou and Amy are just totally fine with not seeing their brother. Like, yeah, so
yeah, that's true. He was in 4 of the VC Andrews on Lifetime.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Landry
That they
family.
Yeah, they did like a million of those.
Yeah, and they have we're actually thinking of covering it on Francast. They have a new one coming out with Fran Drescher
Oh really?
in it.
Was it
Yeah, this
kept it going?
July.
Yeah, I looked at Paramount because I can't remember what actor it was that was in it, and I was like, right, what one is she in? Because I'm not even sure if it's all continuation of like the same thing, or if
Uh-huh.
it's full families, like different awful families based on. Um,
It's
but
so
yeah,
weird
it's
because
so many.
every single one of them has the character falling in love with her brother.
The
Like
brother, other,
what?
yeah, it's crazy.
That weird that that's your like
Yeah, the
uh
one that I
that's what
watched
you're
it
known
was
for.
that she gets adopted and falls in love with her adopted mom's husband, and I'm like, what
Oh,
what is happening?
okay.
What is happening?
But anyway, yeah. So he was good. I thought he did a good job. I want to see more. I agree it could have been more, but it was like pretty meaningful when they because at first it's like really awkward and he's like, "Oh, I got to go to this dinner." And I mean, we're jumping ahead here, but and then that Tim goes outside, Shane, and I thought it was very effective. I was totally in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I mean, this season 16, is definitely peak Tim. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he has not really been a jerk at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they're like trying to get us into a false sense of security or something.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
when
when
they
you
pull
think
the
how
rug
low
from
he
under us.
was
Mm-hmm.
with what's her name, Janice,
Yes, yeah.
that was so bad.
It's brutal, yeah.
And now he's helping Rick, he's making up with Shane, he's just being a great guy, great
Mm-hmm.
husband to Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny to me that they have her be a photographer. I didn't realize until I started podcasting about Hallmark that that was the go-to career.
Yeah.
These things. Everyone's a photographer.
Everyone's a
And
photographer.
yeah, and they're never just like they're never just like taking class pictures or weddings or something like that. It's always landscapes and stuff like that.
Landscapes or, national parks or
Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. So we have Parker. She is picketing this zoo, I like a private zoo,
Mhm.
and there's all these different animals, and they come take them away. But there's this zorse, zebra and horse, which
Mhm.
I had never heard of before. Have you heard of it before? A zorse?
And yeah, I knew that it existed, yeah. Um, and I'm looking at pictures just now, and it makes me think that this horse was definitely painted, because it looks so different than the actual horses. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I wondered because it just was just such a small little grouping of stripes.
yeah, it seems like a lot of them are sort of in patches, and
Hmm.
then there's sort of brown horses with sort of black lines all over, so it's not in
Hmm.
patches, but the ones that are patches, it's sort of um not as sort of blended together as the one in the show. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like whole sort of patch sections that are sort of pure white and others that are sort of zebra colored. So yeah, it's definitely painted, I think.
Well, and they did a good job though, making this really feel like a wild animal,
Hmm.
like different
Yeah,
than the wild horses, even like more scary.
yeah, they definitely edited it very well and made it look like he was dangerous to sort of be around.
Yeah.
Um, and whatever sort of sound that they make, I feel like that was edited in really well.
Yeah. And I forget, is it Mickey? What's the miniature horse that Parker was on? I forget the name. But yeah, that scene where he lashes out against Parker's horse, that was definitely intense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So they did a good job with that, as they always do with the horse work in this show.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Um, and it's sort of nice to see that like that she is sort of back involved in the sort of riding her horse. It's sort of a little bit strange that she's sort of hanging around Heartland all of the time. Um,
Hmm.
when Katie's not there, so it's sort of nice that they do have this thing of she's going there, Parker's going there to ride her horse, and that's why.
Mm.
Because I don't think we've ever met any of her family.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. Maybe her mom once.
Hmm?
Maybe I can't remember. I can't keep track of all the adopted kids that they have
Yeah.
here at the Heartland Ranch. And yeah, I mean, it did remind me, this whole Zor's plot line reminded me of, I mean, it's a very sad story of the in Ohio, like a long time ago, when they had the exotic animals get released by the owner and then he commits suicide. And so then there were like 50 exotic animals all over, and people were like, I mean, again, it is sad, but it's also a little bit funny that people like calling that like 911 saying there's a lion in the middle of the road.
God, it's crazy.
I mean, it's sad because they had to kill all the animals, which is very sad, but still, I do think it's kind of funny. I mean, they're like, there's a tiger right there in the freeway. What? I mean, can you
God, can you imagine?
imagine what you would think?
Yeah, you would be like, yeah, I'm going crazy. I'm officially going crazy.
Losing it. Yeah. So eventually one of these days they're going to make a movie about that, because it's just such a crazy story. Like, I can't imagine like being in like nowhere, Ohio, and I mean, it's crazy they allow people to buy these animals. Like, you'd think you would need, I don't know, like official official zoo, permits and stuff like that
Yeah. Yeah.
to
I mean, I
buy a
watch
lion.
yeah. I mean, I watch a lot of like animal related things on TikTok, so the algorithm just sort of sends you sort of more. And there's this guy, this young guy, British, who like has pet meerkats and pet like, and I'm just like, how do you get these animals for a start? Like, and how do you look after them
Yeah,
in
it's
a
so bizarre.
in a country that they're not sort of native to? Like, it's so crazy. Like people
Hmm.
just are allowed to own these animals without.
Yeah. Not
Crazy.
anybody should be able to have a lion. That's crazy.
I mean, even things like
Crazy.
monkeys and
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And I would say from everything I've seen in this episode, same with horses.
Yeah.
They should be on the list because they seem pretty scary.
Hmm.
But there's this woman, Colette, wants to adopt the Zorse, but they have to train him a little bit. And you get this scene with Amy saying, "I'm sorry for what they did to you. We're not all bad, I promise."
Hmm.
So that was sweet. Then Finn shows up and he helps the Zorse with his hoofs. And he says, "I know what it's like to be stuck between two worlds."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so we have Jessica going to the gallery in New York City, and Tim calls Shane, and Shane says he can't be there. We get this whole like flashback of Tim and Shane memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's feeling bad about that, and then we have Ezra, and he is saying that, oh, there's so much interest in her work and everything, and I guess Ezra is Jessica's ex-boyfriend, so Tim's feeling threatened.
Yeah. I'm sure he made an appearance before, or like has was mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of nice to sort of not there be a little bit of jealousy there, but it not completely take over, and that Tim is actually able to just focus on Jessica and Shane.
Yeah, I
But
thought
yeah,
that he
it was
behaved himself. I was proud of him.
yeah, yeah. Let us say, I definitely think they're about to pull the rug out from under us. But yeah. I was
Yeah.
definitely getting bad vibes from Ezra.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that none of the critics actually responded. And was he because he had put the red marks on all of them. So that was him buying it, Ezra?
Yeah, I think it was him buying them to sort of make her
Okay.
think that the rest of her
Was
friends had been buying them.
he trying to like put the moves on her, you think?
I think he honestly just felt really bad that he said that he was going to do all of these things, and yeah, nobody was interested, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have Parker making this romantic dinner for Jack and Lisa, and is say that they're like the next Kevin Costner. It's cute. And he says, night. So they have this nice conversation between Lisa and Jack, and she says that she hates the travel. And he says, "It's nice knowing this whole missing thing isn't as one-sided as I thought." It was very sweet.
Yeah.
But I still think he needs to take a grown-up pill and just go with her on a couple of the trips. Like, not all of them, but like, just go with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not like he needs to go for like the entire time.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
yeah, go on like the last week, and then you can both come home together, or you know, I do hope this is the last we sort of see of this disagreement about her
Yeah, it's getting
traveling,
a little
because
old.
yeah, they've made the decision that this is the career and that she wants to, because they sort of did play with the idea of them retiring, and then they decided that they both didn't want to, and this was the path that the show was chosen. And I just wish that that this is not the end of it, because I'm sure there'll be more conflict on different things. But if this is the way that they're gonna go, I would just rather they sort of commit to it, as opposed to going back and forth and have Jack be this grump the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because he did agree to it, so it's like,
Yeah. It's just like, just go with her. If you don't like it, then it's not like it's because when he was complaining about the thing in France, that was more understandable because she actually had like a second home there. And so it was more of a commitment. This is just traveling like to Florida and so like she doesn't have, it's not like a second home. It's not a like he's just go with her.
Yeah, she just has a traveling job. Um it's not like a massive sort of thing
Yeah,
where,
it's not a big
like you say,
commitment.
that she's sort of has two sort of home bases. It's not the case, and yeah, it's like pick a lane.
Yeah. So yeah, Ezra tells Jessica that cowboys aren't everyone's cup of tea. And then we have Parker feeling bad about the zoo animals. And she says, I just wanted to give the Zorth a happy ever after.
hmm
And then Jack says, loving one another, that is the happy part. But happy ever afters, that's a lot more complicated. Was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she obviously, I mean, it's lucky that she got involved, that it's in as good a situation as it is.
hmm Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then this is when you get the Shane showing up, and it was just a well done scene, I thought. Tim saying, I didn't know how to say it. And then Shane is like, well, I'm gonna go like meet up with my friends or something. And so then Tim runs after Shane, gives him a hug. I never should have let the distance between us grow so much. I should have tried harder. And then he says, maybe I should have let you. And they hug and they go to the steakhouse. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it was really well done, and I do like the fact that Tim didn't let him take the blame because he is the adult in the situation, even though
Mm-hmm.
Shane is an adult now. You know, when that distance happened, he wasn't. So I do like that Tim did take responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
hopefully
good.
see of him.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first-rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
Then they take the Zorse to the training center, to the juvenile training center, and then Logan is on challenge, and they're both loner horses. Zorse and the loner, they bond, and so that was cute.
Yes, I guess the center's just going to have like a wild Zorse
Yeah,
in
I
their
guess
land.
so. I guess so. Well, until they can train it for this Colette lady.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we
So
had it a couple of seasons ago. I'm sure she was the one that had the big sort of horse that was sort of white and sort of flowing, and
I loved that horse.
I'm sure that was the owner of that horse.
Yeah, that was really pretty. And then Lisa says we are living the happily ever after. And then Jack says, I love you, Lisa, and there's no amount of miles or years that will change that. That was really cute.
Mhm.
Just travel with her. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I guess I guess the reason they're doing it is because we need Jack in every episode, and for some reason they won't give us Lisa in every episode.
Yeah, I guess they have to have some explanation, but I don't even think you need to. You could just have her not be in the episode.
Mhm.
You know, she's working at a ranch. You don't even need an explanation. She's just not in the episode.
Mhm.
The episodes are about other people. But they feel a need to. But then we have Finn looking at Amy, like a long lingering look. And basically like he left, and Amy doesn't know why he left, and so she's upset, and that's kind of where we're going into the next episode.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it's just hard to not like feel emotional more than this plotline would necessarily
Yeah.
inspire.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really
It's
sad.
it's difficult to watch.
Mm-hmm. So what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I'll give it a 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, well, I give it, I think, a little higher actually, because I really liked the Tim and Shane thing. I thought it was really good. I'm sorry, maybe give it an 8. Okay. So then we have episode 7, Vigil. And it's an unlucky farewell follows a turbulent incident. Amy worries that Finn's worst case scenario has come to pass. Without Katie's permission, Lou reads her journal. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, like so good.
This was
Yeah,
so
this
good.
is so good. Like everything about this episode was just like classic Heartland, and I think Heartland is at its best when it sort of reflects back on the history that is built, and uses all of that to full effect.
Yeah.
And doesn't sort of ignore. Sometimes it sort of ignores its history a little bit. And I understand that they want to keep the show fresh and moving forward, and this show would probably never go off air. I think it'll just go on forever. But it is good when we go back to characters that we started with and that have gone on and had sort of these like full lives, and yeah, it was really good.
It was so good. Yeah, like peak Heartland this episode, I think. It starts out with Lindy getting scared in the storm. That was so cute.
Yeah,
Adorable.
like totally would be scared in that. It
Yeah.
sounded so scary.
Yeah. And then you have Copper dying, which in the storm gets electrocuted, struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And that was just so sad. And of course, then they have to let Mallory know about Copper.
I was so worried it was going to be Spartan at first, because Spartan's acting a little off. It's him that sort of is trying to guide Amy to Copper. So I was sort of like, oh my god, something's going to happen to Spartan, and then it was sort of Copper, and I was like, oh my god, like such a like shock, but also just like relief at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so sad.
Yeah, and Amy talks about whenever one of her mom's horses leave them, it's kind of saying goodbye to her mom all over again.
Yeah, that's such an interesting moment that I didn't expect. Because of course, like her mum has, saved all of these horses, and it's been, like 15, 16 years since she passed away now. So yeah, it would make sense that a lot of the animals and horses that she'd rescued are no longer with them. Yeah. It was such a good, I say good, but like emotional moment between Amy and Lou. I feel like we haven't had one of them in a little bit.
Yeah. It was good, and it just brings you back to the heart of Heartland, the emotion that the show has. And I think it was a really good balance this episode of, like you said, the nostalgia for the past, particularly obviously with Mallory coming back, but also with like fun moments to kind of break up the emotion, like Jack with the generator.
Yeah, there's such a good energy throughout the episode with Mallory as well. It's like Jessica doesn't miss a beat whenever she comes back. She's just like full Mallory. And I imagine that must be quite difficult, especially if you're only there for 1 or 2 episodes and it's a character that you haven't played in so long. But yeah, she did such a good job, and any scene with her and Jack is just gold.
Yeah, it was so good. I would honestly love if she came back like for a whole season. I just really enjoy her and Jake.
Yeah, I feel like her and Jake would be a really good addition to the show. And especially now because the cast is so sort of reduced at this point. They don't have as many characters sort of coming in and out.
Yeah. Well, and there's not that many young cowboys on the
Mhm.
show.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have Caleb, but I don't know. There's Caleb and
Yeah, this
I don't know,
Caleb is
Sam.
Caleb sort of aged out of
Yeah, I
the
think both of
rodeo
them
and
are
things like
too
that.
old.
Yeah. So it'd be
Um,
nice to sort of have some sort of new people coming in.
mhm, I agree.
And even just we don't even have any sort of horse girls apart from Amy, and a little bit Lindy,
Hmm.
because Georgie's no longer on the show. So yeah, it would be nice to
Yeah.
have. Well, I guess we have with the youth center, but yeah, it
George
would
is
be nice
being
to have.
knocked unconscious.
Jeez, I'm
Yeah.
excited that she's coming back this season, but it's
too.
a little strange that all of this has happened to her off screen.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
So Peter and Lou are back, and we've got long hair Peter. How do you feel about that?
I don't mind it. I would rather have the long hair than the facial hair. Because I know that he sort of had to have that for the other show that he was on, and it just didn't fit that character. Yeah, I don't feel one way or another about it.
It just looks a little young.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like somebody trying too hard to look younger to me. I mean, I didn't like hate it. It was fine, but I don't know. I think it would look better with shorter hair, but you know.
I mean, it's no Caleb long hair, but
yeah. So let's see here. So let's replace. Oh, and then that scene where Harley wouldn't take the apple from Lindy. That was
so sad.
so sad. Harley is so sad. And that was sweet. How do we feel about Lou reading Katie's journal?
I feel like for Lou, it was definitely, very Lou. But I also feel like it wasn't like fully intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like it is easy just to sort of glance at something and sort of read a sentence of something that you're not supposed to. So yeah, I do think that picking it up probably was a step too far.
Also, but I don't really understand what the big crisis is. So she has a crush on an older guy. It's just a crush. It's not if it was detailing some, maybe she kissed him or something more. It's just a crush. I just don't even think I feel like their parent radars kind of went up a little bit too quickly on something.
Like the emergency klaxons went off the second she read that.
Yeah. So I can understand why Katie's so upset when she finds out, but
I will say I did like the fact that they did sort of say I feel like it really shows how far the show has come when they sort of talked about how she can talk about if she has a crush on a boy or a girl, and I feel like that really shows how far Lou's come as well. And I feel like that's just something that never would have occurred in the show before. And it just goes to show how long this show's been on the air, that it's sort of gone through this whole sort of I don't know, it's just gone through this whole sort of journey of having a bigger sort of scope now.
That's true. And so they have the memorial service for Copper, and Mallory and Jake are back, and you can tell that. Well, first Mallory says all these lies about everything going
I
so
loved when
perfect.
she like faced up to all of the lies. Like the dinner was so funny, and then when
Yeah.
she like goes, like, "Yeah, I lied." Yeah, that was also a lie.
Yeah, exactly. Jake got laid off. That was owning the land. That was a lie. And at first they think that Katie's going to be telling them about this crush, but she says that she wants to get her ears pierced.
Mm-hmm.
So, when did you get your ears pierced, or do you have your ears pierced?
I did have my ears pierced. I think I was really young when I got them pierced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually remember it happening.
Uh-huh.
I did make the mistake in getting sort of really high up on my ear and the cartilage pierced, and that was just awful.
Oh,
It got infected, and I couldn't sleep, and I had to take it out, and just it was awful. So yeah, I think that really scared me off of doing anything else piercing wise. And eventually, I actually just let my piercings, all my piercings, just sort of close up.
yeah, I had the same. I got my ears pierced when I was 12. That was my mom's rule that
Mm-hmm.
she let us when we were 12. And I actually, let them fill in a couple of years ago, and I've been thinking about actually getting them re-pierced. I thought about it a couple times, but I haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like a huge jewelry person. I like
Yeah,
long
same.
necklaces. That's my favorite. But I have a few little things, but not a ton of jewelry.
Yeah, I like wrist jewelry, and I've worn the same sort of Celtic cross
Mm.
chain, and I've also got like a St. Christopher on it as well. Those are like the only sort of things that I wore for a very long time. I think the last year was the only time like I gave in and got a smartwatch, because I just wore the same sort of watch since I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of gave in and got like a smart one.
Mm. Yeah, I thought about that too. That too. Because sometimes it would
One
be
problem
nice.
for another. It's like
Yeah,
you just get so addicted to like checking things all of the time. You're like,
yeah,
how many steps have I done, and how many calories? Like, it's just too much information.
yeah. Well, how did we get by without all this
Yeah,
information?
exactly. Exactly.
And so then we have Finn leaving for Kendersley, and Amy's upset about it. She can tell that Finn has been lying to her, not being
Hmm.
honest. And what turns out is that he had a friend who passed away, and he was up there to help the friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's more complicated, and listeners can sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is the last we'll see of Finn on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure, but I have looked ahead a little bit, and the episode descriptions sort of refer to Finn, like Finn's family, Finn's, someone from Finn's past, but they don't actually talk about, I think there's one of Amy, thinking about visiting Finn, so there's nothing with Finn being in Heartland or being
Oh
there, sort
yeah,
of. So yeah, I'm just sort of a
yeah.
bit
I'm looking
concerned about this, is the
through.
fact that this might be the last we see of him, and in a way that's just devastating.
That is sad. Yeah, I'm looking through some of these descriptions, like you're saying. Amy questions if she should visit Finn. Yeah, Amy and Jack have a disagreement about Finn. So I think you're right. Well, but let us know if I mean, I guess in a way this is kind of perfect, because like they actually were able, because of this plot, they were able to have him say goodbye,
Yeah,
and not just all of a
that's.
sudden be off the show.
Hmm.
But he feels responsible. He was driving. The friend um uh that he feels responsible for what happened to his friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, and then we get a kiss between Amy and Finn. If you didn't know, of course, what happens to the actor, how do you feel about like the chemistry and the other thing between Amy and Finn?
So hard to separate,
Yeah.
but I think the chemistry is so good between them,
Yeah.
and it's just so sad. Like the whole situation is just so sad because the reality of the situation of the actor passing away, that is just on its own, bigger than anything else. But if we're just talking about the show itself, I feel like it's going to be really hard for the show to sort of find chemistry like this with anyone else for Amy.
I feel like they can do Sam. I feel like they've established him enough and
Mm.
there's enough chemistry there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only other person I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do think they do have to explore Amy having a relationship. Maybe not necessarily like a end game sort of type of relationship, but just sort of explore that a little bit.
Mhm.
Obviously that was the plan with Finn. But yeah, I feel like it's such a tragedy, and the show will likely sort of go back to the drawing board, and if
Yeah.
it's not Sam, then it will be someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Well, we have this whole thing with Mallory, and she finds out she's pregnant, and this great conversation between Jack and Jake. And he says, I
Mm-hmm.
never lost sight of what I wanted. And I thought that was really good. And then you have this kind of makeup scene between Jake and Mallory. And then Jack says to Mallory, you were a breath of fresh air and still are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what she is for this show, for the viewers as well, for me
Mhm.
especially. Like, I was expecting this to be such a sad episode because of the whole Finn
Yeah.
situation and the actor passing away and all of that sort of hanging over the episode. I feel like she sort of came in and lightened the whole thing. And it's sort of, yeah, and even Jake, it's so funny, that actor just hasn't changed whatsoever. Like in all these years, he just looks exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just nice to see that relationship is still strong.
Yeah, it's
between-
still strong, and that is, I did like the fact that, she does talk about the fact that, I'm a waitress, like that's what I was when I was, living here. Like life is just hard sometimes, and you just sort of have to persevere, and like Jack says, you just sort of have to focus on what you want and have faith that will happen for you if you keep trying.
Yeah. And I thought that Sean was really good in this whole scene they were both good, Jessica and Sean. And he says, our little Mallory is having a little one of her own, and he gets kind of teary-eyed, and he's really gonna miss Mallory. I thought it was very well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sweet. And he gets a new generator.
Yeah, just in time for the power to come back on.
Yeah. And then you also have Mallory and Amy having a conversation. And when she finds out she's pregnant, she says, then Amy says, Lindy has been the bright light through all this. So that was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Jake and Mallory make up, and then they leave. And we get this kind of ending montage with Lindy and Harley, Finn, and Mallory and Jake.
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, I do wish that they had, Jake, work for Jack and
I would love that. That would be
like
so
that.
good.
That would be so good. Because it seems like anything that they're doing they can't do in Heartland. She can go to business school there, and
Yeah.
he can work for Jack and Tim,
Mhm.
and we would have them back on the show.
Yeah, I would love that. I would really. But we've always been fans of Mallory from day one.
Yeah, everybody else found him annoying and we loved.
And we interviewed Jessica. I interviewed Jessica a couple of years ago. That was really fun. So I'll put a link if people want to check out that interview. She was great. So yeah, this was such a good episode. It was just emotional and well acted and well done. And the horse part was well done. And like Harley, poor sad Harley, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I just thought it was very good. I guess the least compelling part was probably the journal part, but it was cute.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I give this like a 9.5. This is a really good Heartland episode, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go 10.
Mhm,
I thought it was
yeah.
perfect, and I think the fact that a show that's been on the air for 16 seasons can still deliver like this is pretty remarkable. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic episode.
Yeah, I don't know why I hedged. I'll give it a 10 as well. Because it was super
Peer
good.
pressured.
But let us know what you think of these two episodes. Did you like them as much as we did? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod, and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We'd really appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store, so please check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.